favorite thing to come to Clinton, the reason I come to Clinton every time, the reason I'm here is because why? Because I'm for you. That's not tricky. I'm for you. That hasn't changed. Some things do change. That hasn't changed. I need to tell you about this principle that I learned a long time ago. When I was a kid, I was younger than you. I went to my Meemaw and Pa's house. My Meemaw and Pa, they're my grandparents, my dad's mom and dad. And my Meemaw, she's going to turn 90 on Wednesday. And she could still out-bowl. She taught me how to bowl. She taught me how to keep score on bowling. I learned lots of things at Meemaw and Pa's, but today I want to talk to you about a principle called rocks and ripples. When I went to Meemaw's and Pa's house, they lived at Lake Eufaula. And so we did lots of cool stuff. But they lived at Lake Eufaula. There's all this water. Sometimes I would just go and get some rocks and throw rocks on top of the water. What's that called when you throw a rock and it just goes on top of the water? Skipping rocks, yeah. We did some skipping rocks. And then also, and I've got two younger sisters. And so also what I did is try to find the biggest rock I could and get as close to them as I could by the water. And then I tried to pretend like I was like John Cena or someone. And then I tried to throw the rock as hard as I could at the water that was closest to them, because then they would get what? They would get wet, yeah. And then they would go and they would tell mom and dad, and we had other conversations after that. But I learned this principle of rocks and ripples. Anytime you throw a rock in the water, the first thing that happens is a what? No. The first thing that happens is a splash. The rock hits the water, then there's a big splash, and it sinks like a rock, which is where we get the expression. It sinks like a rock. But then on top of the water, now what do you see? The ripples. It's the same with you. It's the same with me. Whenever we say something or we do something, that's like throwing a rock. As soon as you let go of the rock, you relinquish the right to stop the ripples. And when you say something about somebody, you can't hope that they take it as a joke. When you say something about somebody, or you say something that you just need it to be funny, you're trying to get a laugh, but you don't want to hurt their feelings, you just think it's kind of funny, so you say it. But you can't go to the person that you say the joke about and say, hey, I don't mean this to be bad about you, I was trying to be funny over there with those folks. As soon as you let go of the rock, you relinquish all control of the ripples. But you're still accountable for it. You're still responsible for it. This isn't really about rocks or about water. This is about the choices that we make. And I don't know how you feel about March. There's lots of stuff that happens in March. Spring break is great. But there's also basketball, March Madness. I'm not bringing it up. It's just something that happens. I didn't make March Madness. It just happens. But since it's happening in the month of March, and I'm talking to you in March, I brought this so you can kind of see it. Hey, listen, there was something crazy that happened yesterday in the girls' basketball game. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah, the fight. It was against South Carolina, who was number 1 in the country, and then LSU, who was number 2 in the country. And they were playing for their conference championship. And the game was a close game most of the game. Number 1 versus number 2. This isn't really a story about basketball, but there's a little bit about basketball. The whole game was pretty close. South Carolina had the lead most of the time. But it got down to a 1 or 2 point game with about 4.5 minutes left. And then with 2:08, the clock stopped at 2:08 because there was this fight. But it wasn't like a little fight. It was like a huge fight. Like I don't know, listen, if you ever play basketball and you ever talk trash to anybody, please just raise your hand. You talk trash even just a little? Yeah, that's all right. I'm not going to tell you. Yeah, you talk trash a little. Okay, they were talking trash the whole game. It's number 1 versus number 2. They were talking trash the whole game. And about 40 seconds before this happened, about 10 seconds before this happened, one of the ladies from South Carolina, she made a really awesome shot, and she got real close to the lady from LSU and started barking at her and let her know, hey, this is just me owning you, still owning you like I have the whole game. Whatever she says. Then there's this really tall girl from South Carolina. When I say tall, I think she's like 6'8", like she's tall. And she goes, because one of her teammates gets pushed, and one of her teammates pushes back, and one of the other team pushes back again. And so she comes from across the court. I don't know how far across the court. And she does this move that would make most of the pro wrestlers you have ever heard about very proud. She does this thing and knocks the girl to the ground. And then this is the craziest thing that I've seen, the craziest thing I saw yesterday. That's what I'm telling you.
No, right here.
The dude, that this really tall girl, like she's the one who hit the ground, the tall girl hit the ground and hit her. The brother of the girl who hit the ground was on the second row. He hops over 2 rows and jumps onto the court. Right? He jumped onto the court. And I didn't even see that part at first. My son saw it. I thought, because the announcer's like, well, there's a civilian on the floor. I'm like, it's a police officer. Well, of course. I didn't even see the dude jump over the top. And on SportsCenter this morning they were talking about it. Rocks and the ripples. Because there's a difference in the reaction and the response. Sometimes you have a knee-jerk reaction. Sometimes one of your teachers says, hey, I need you to do a little bit better at this job. I need you to do your work a little bit better. You kind of push back and you just react. You don't think it through. You feel like they're picking on you, so you push back. There's a reason, there's a saying called a knee-jerk reaction. There's a reason it's called a knee-jerk reaction. Because I don't think it through. I just react back. And reacting's not necessarily bad in sports. If you're playing basketball, you don't want to say, well, I wonder if I should guard the person I'm supposed to guard, or if I should give out that leg. You don't want to think that through. You want to react, right? Get in the right spot. But there's the difference in life in reacting and responding. And in reacting, you just say the thing before you think about it. You just do something. But when you respond, you think it through before you do the thing, whatever that is. I want to encourage you to respond. Because that dude, the brother, the girl who got pushed to the ground, he didn't think it through. And I don't know if he went to jail, but he for sure got escorted out of the auditorium. And there was another dude who was with him, maybe another friend or family member. He didn't even jump on the floor, but he also got escorted out. Both of the benches cleared. All the players on both teams came out onto the floor. And you know what happens if you come out on the floor in a fight you're not playing? You get tossed. So for the last 208, LSU only had 5 players. They were down, 6 or 7. South Carolina had 1 player on the bench. And then the announcer says, well, this is catastrophic because everyone who got thrown out of this game gets to forfeit their next game. They don't get to play in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Which is not accurate. She came back later and said, well, actually, only the person who got kicked out for fighting. This isn't really about fighting even. It's about you choosing to react or learning how to respond. It's about me choosing how to learn to react or learn to respond. As a husband, as a dad, as a speaker, as a citizen, as a dude who shops at Walmart sometimes. You ever shop at Walmart? You ever go to Walmart? You ever think about doing something that you know is not the right move? And you think it through, that's responding to the situation. Listen, the reason why I'm telling you that, my wife teaches at middle school. I don't know everything about you, but I know you. I know the frustrations that you have. I know some of the insecurities that you feel. I used to feel some of those, and some days I still do, depends on the day. But more than anything in life, I want to help people feel seen and feel valued. And one of the best ways that I know to help you with that is to encourage you not to just react, because you're going to say something that you wish you could unsay. You'll do something that you wish you could undo. I got a lot of those stories. I'm not telling you all those stories. I got a lot of those stories, and I wish I could turn back time and do something a little bit different, do it a little bit better. But this isn't talk about how bad you are. Because I believe you can actually be the best part of what's right with our community. But here's what happens a lot of times when people are talking about feedback. We say, if I tell you one thing that you're doing good, and I tell you one thing that you're doing bad, then that's even. That's not even. Can you help me out for a second? What's your name? What's your name? You left again? Gavin's he's got 2 different colored dies. The blue one is something you're doing good. The orange one is something that you need to do better. All right, hold one of those up. Hold them both up. Doing good, you need to do better. All right. This is not even, and I've already mentioned this to you before another time. I'm reminding you of this because sometimes you never even when people are coming to me and they're telling me some good thing or they're telling me some bad thing. It never is even. But it's true also whenever you're talking to other people. Put two of these if you're on top of that one and you're glued. Good luck, Chuck. Hold them up. Give it up for God right there. Nice job. You didn't even know they did it. Alright? This is 3 doing goods to 1 do better. That's still not even. That's still neutral. So when you come into class and you say 3 positive things and 1 negative thing, which I'm not sure is the way that you normally do it, but if you come in and you say 3 positive things and 1 negative thing to your teacher, that's still not positive. You say 3 positive things and 1 negative thing to one of your friends, that still doesn't feel positive. I'm telling you this because middle schoolers are the kings and queens of reacting and overreacting. Because you have all of the feels. And the only problem with that is your brain, your prefrontal cortex, your brain's not fully developed. And that means you don't always have control over the things that you say. So I want you to see this. God was helping me illustrate it. I want you to see it. Even 3 to 1, that's still not positive. That's still negative. 5 to 1 is now neutral. Think about that. If for every 1 bad thing you say, 1 negative thing you say to your brother or sister or mom or dad or whoever takes care of you, or to a friend or to a staff member here, for every 1 negative thing you say, if you say 5 positive things, you give them 5 compliments, that's still not positive, that's neutral, that's even. Do your best, Gavin, if you can, to hold them up where both of your hands are even. That's neutral. Hey, this helped me become a better husband. It helped me become a better dad. It also helps me be the guy who speaks. I want to focus more on what's right instead of what's wrong. But here's the problem with that. People don't move towards what's right. They move away from the pain of what's wrong. So that's why most of the church sermons you go to, most of the church sermons you go to, the guy who's preaching or the lady who's preaching, they're not telling you all the great things. They're telling you about the bad stuff because they're trying to help you move away from the bad stuff. That's fine. I'm trying to be a little bit different. And Gavin's doing a great job of helping me illustrate it. 5 to 1 is just neutral. You want to be positive? It takes 7 more. You guys give it up for Gavin right now. I say this all the time. Everybody can do good. Yeah, you say too, right? Everybody can do good? Nobody can do good, nobody can do it. 7th grade, everybody do good? Nobody can do good, nobody can do it. 8th grade, you've been saying this a long time. You've been saying this the whole time you've been in this building. I've been with you the whole time you've been in this building, all right? Loud and proud. Everybody do good? Everybody do good, nobody can do it. It's my favorite thing that's happened so far today. The way that you get better at doing good is you get around people who are good at doing good. That's not tricky. If you want to get good at something, you don't do it in a silo. You don't do it by yourself. If you want to get good at something, you work with other people who are trying to get good at some very similar things. When I went to college on a music scholarship, and then I also played football, which is kind of a weird thing. Most people who do the one thing don't do the other. And I did both for a while. And then I realized there's one of those things I didn't really want to do very much more at all, which was play football. But there's one thing I wanted to do a lot more, which was music. I still do music stuff today. But it's really, really difficult for you to be better at doing good while you're around people who are not choosing to do good. That's why you need to learn to respond, not just react. Here you know how to react. And sometimes you react right here. Sometimes, for a lot of you, it's just eyes up. You say all kinds of things, eyes up. But I didn't just want you to hear about the thing that happened yesterday. I want to show you this video. from a dude that you may know about, again, going with the basketball team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Western Conference leading Oklahoma City Thunder. 3 nights ago, they played against the Miami Heat, and they won the game 107-100. And after the game, SGA had this little soundbite. Hey, if you've already seen this, raise your hand if you know what he's going to say. Okay, 6 of you. Okay, great. For the rest of us, we're going to see what he says. Mr. Harrington?
Late in the first quarter, second quarter, and a little bit of something before they were the tougher team. When we turned that dial, we were able to get our mentality in the game and then play our identity. But once you did that, we were good.
47 games for you with at least 30 this season. That ties the Thunder record. How are you just so consistent, like the time, night in and night out?
My whole life is consistent. Everything I do, from when I eat to when I sleep, to my recovery, to my loved ones, everything's consistent. And it's a routine for me at this point.
You guys got so much toughness.
All right, let's
across the board. These guys scored big plays late. What did you see from your team?
He said, my whole life is, this time I want you to say it loud, crowd. My whole life is consistent. Then he said, the way I eat. What else? The way I live. My relationships. The food, my recovery. Everything that this dude does is not by accident. And I don't mean no, he's not a robot. Nobody's always perfect. I don't mean that either. But what I want you to see is he's not perfect. But he's the first Thunder player since Kevin Durant to get, what do they say, 47 30-point games in a regular season, and there's still 19 games to go. As a dude who's been hyping the Thunder ever since they came to town, listen, I couldn't be more excited about that. But what I want you to understand today, as a middle schooler, you can choose to be consistent. In fact, you must choose to be consistent. If you want to choose to do something good, then you find other people who are doing something good and you try to do it along with them. If you want to be an amazing trumpet player and percussionist like Miss Washington, you're not just going to get up and start doing it. You've got to work at it. And Miss Washington, how long would you say that you've been working as a musician? Working on being a musician?
40 years.
About 40 years. I sang my first song in church when I was 6. I don't always sing in church, but I've been doing music a long time. Ms. Gregson, how long have you been doing music? My whole life, right? And listen, this is not just only about the doing. It is about the doing, but it's not only about the doing. Because what happens when you're consistent over time, and people know who you are, you're kind over time, you're respectful over time, you do your job not only on the court or on the archery stage or in ag, not only those places, but when you're a great human, even a good human, consistently over time, people take notice. And maybe one of these days, they'll name a building after you or something. Not because that's the goal, but because the goal is doing good. And when someone does good, when they choose to do good over and over and over again, listen, you can do things that other people wouldn't even imagine that could be done. The reason I'm giving you this talk this morning, this is a new talk. This isn't one of the ones that I do like in a regular rotation or anything like that. Like this is the talk that I wrote just for you. It's got all these different things on it just for you. Things I wanted to point out just for you. Because you matter. My wife teaches middle school. Every day she wears a t-shirt that says you matter. She's got this thing that she puts on Google Classroom. It's a slide that says you matter. And at the bottom right it says ... but so do they. You know why? Because middle schoolers don't have a reputation for helping other people feel seen and feel valued. But as I said to you before, you're not most middle schoolers. And I know that better than anyone. Because when I stood on that stage at tap dance, you didn't make me feel like a failure. You encouraged me. You can be some of the best parts of what's right. The reason I wanted you to see this today is because there's not a trick to building champions. There's not a cheat code to building champions. And you guys hear that all the time. But there definitely are some traits that are consistent with building champions. And that's what everyone in this district is about. That's what the teachers and the leadership of this district is all about, to try to help you not be the best, but continually strive to be better, and be better, and be better, and be better. And that's why whenever you feel like you don't really want to try, that's why a lot of times you feel like people are picking on you then, because the grown-ups in your life see it in your face, and they want to encourage you. It's not a trick, but there are definitely traits. And it doesn't matter. I learned a lot about archery talking to Lexi and Jeter on the podcast last time I was here. And I learned also from Emmett and Callie about chickens, stuff I didn't know much about at all. Like it doesn't matter what thing we're talking about, but you want to learn to be good and even be better and be better, you want to learn to be consistent. And the way you want to learn to do that is you see other people who are being consistent and you try to do what they do. I'm doing that in my business. I want to be a better speaker, so I'm paying a guy who's a great speaker to try to be my coach and help me get better at it. I want to be a better coach for my clients, so I'm hiring another person to help me become better as a coach so I can deliver better experiences to them. Listen, it's not tricky. My giant son, who's 6'6", 280, he wants to play college basketball. I said, don't ask me how to play college basketball. It's not what I did. We've got two guys in your life that did play college basketball. One did play overseas. We want to talk to those guys and see, what do you do? How did you get ready for it? And then go from there. The biggest fight that you fight, though, is the one in your mind about not being good enough, or not being able to be good. And I want to tell you today that you for sure can. Ms. Tarkin, can we watch this one more time? Back to the beginning where he talks it, just from the beginning until he says the consistency part.
We had to be a tougher team. Late in the first quarter, second quarter, and a little bit of the fourth, they were the tougher team. When we turned that dial, we were able to get our mentality in the game and then play to our identity. But once we did that, we were good.
47 games for you with at least 30 this season. That ties the Thunder record. How are you just so consistent, like the time, night in and night out?
My whole life is consistent. Everything I do, from what I eat to what I sleep, to my recovery, to my loved ones, everything's consistent. And it's a routine for me at this point.
You guys got so much toughness across the board. These guys are...
He said it's a routine for me at this point because he worked at it. And if you don't have people in your life that jump up and down, act like a crazy person, like those two guys did, like if you don't have people in your corner, teammates like that, you might need to look and see if you have other options. And this is the other part of it, last thing. This is the other part of it. Whenever someone in your circle does something good, you don't have to jump around and do cartwheels or whatever they do. You don't have to do that. But you want them to know that you're as proud of them and happy for them as you are if you would have been doing it. I promise you, Jalen Williams, those two dudes, they both got the same name spelled differently. Those two guys are as excited for SGA to set this record for the Thunder as anything that's happened. Not because they want to be terrible players, but they're not trying to compete with them. They're on the same team. And what you and I sometimes we look at other people who are doing things similarly to how we do it, and we look at them as competition instead of as teammates. Everybody in this district, you're fighting for the same thing, for the same reasons. And I'm a dude who don't do this for you. I don't think you're perfect. I think you're fantastic. That's not being perfect is not the right goal, right? So, go ahead and stand with me one time and say, everybody do good? Hold on, I'll wait for you to stand. Go ahead and stand with me. All right, just the fellas. Everybody do good? Nobody do good either way you do. All right, ladies.